John.
Evening, Missy. This is Bill Jerome, my accountant.
How do you do? If you'll excuse me, Rasputin is having kittens.
Rasputin is?
We didn't know when we named her. It's very hard to tell the sex of a cat.
Tell me about it. When the show Home Improvement was popular, we got a couple of kittens and named them Tim and Jill. Then we found out Tim was a girl. You'd think we'd learn from that, but later on we had a pair of orange kittens that we had to name Fred and George. We had a third one that we named Ginny. You may be able to guess that we were on a Harry Potter kick by that time, so any animal that was even close to being a ginger got named after a member of the Weasley family. Anyway, we later learned that George was a girl and Ginny was a boy. I do enjoy cats, but dogs are way easier to figure out.
Rasputin has already had 5 of them. 3 girls and 2 boys. Or 3 boys and 2 girls. Or 4 girls and 1 boy. Or 4 boys and 1 girl. Or...
I rest my case. John and his accountant are here because the IRS is auditing their tax returns from the last year they were married and filed jointly. Joyce has all the receipts and everything from that year, and they're ready to sort it all out.
Of course, John deducted alimony payments for the last third of the year. We should have a copy of your divorce decree just to substantiate.
I'm afraid I've lost it. What about yours, Joyce?
Mine's gone, too. I sent it to Mother so I could get back in the will.
It shouldn't be any problem to get a copy.
Well, I'll give you the lawyer's address. It was a tiny little town in Mexico.
They both have fond memories of that divorce, so much so that we'll get a flashback so we can enjoy it too.
What is your occupation, Mrs. Elliot?
I'm an actress.
Please, Joyce, you are under oath.
Has either of you been divorced before?
No, this is our first. Why? Should I have worn white?
Well, my wife will have her silly little joke.
Not after today.
They sign a paper and that's that. Later, Tracy has written a script for the show. Doug loves it even though he hasn't read it. The fact that she's giving him little pecks on the cheek and calling him Muffin might have something to do with it. In her script, Joyce is kidnapped, bound and gagged, later released and rushed to the hospital with an oxygen mask on. Then she's in a coma, and then she's sewn up in a soundproof bag. Guess who gets all the lines in this script? But she insists Joyce is the focus, so she shouldn't be upset about all that silly dialogue stuff. When John agrees to take a look at it, Joyce storms off to her dressing room.
John.
Oh, Bill, what brings you here?
Could I speak to you for a second?
Sure.
I have some bad news.
What, the tax audit?
Worse. I've been in touch with the Mexican authorities to get a copy of your divorce decree. Now, you know that guy Mendoza.
The lawyer who divorced us.
It turns out he wasn't a lawyer. He was nothing but a fraud.
Right now he's in prison. He took their money but never registered any paperwork. Nobody can find their divorce decree because there ain't no such thing.
You and Joyce are not divorced.
Oh, my God.
Somebody really liked the way John Hillerman said that because a few years later it would become one of his catchphrases on Magnum P.I. John isn't sure what to do, but Hugo is willing to act as his sounding board.
Hi, Hugo. New dress?
Yeah, you like it?
Well, well, it's you.
John really has a problem. He hasn't mustered the courage to tell Joyce yet, and she's so angry with him right now she'll refuse to give him a divorce just to frustrate him.
John, you gotta butter her up a little.
Well, I suppose I could try being a little friendlier to Joyce. Greet her with a little smile, be a little more considerate, treat her with a little human kindness, maybe just a touch of humility. There's no way in the world I could pull that off.
He's probably right. Still, he has to try.
No matter how long it takes, I'm going to get my wife to give me a divorce.
None of my business, honey, but the married ones always promise you that.
John is trying to be charming, contrite, and considerate, and Joyce isn't buying it.
I was in the wrong, and I apologize.
Too late, fungus face.
However, we all know that actions speak louder than words, so let's hear John's thoughts on Tracy's script.
I'm very impressed.
Did you hear that, Joyce?
Yes, I did.
And I think you're absolutely right that the offstage character is the focus of attention.
Oh, did you hear that, Joyce?
Yes, I did.
So I don't think it would be right that the author of this wonderful script be relegated to a subordinate role. I'm having the writers reverse them.
Remember, the person in the coma and the bag and all the rest is the focus of the story. You want to be the focus, don't you?
How do you mean?
You'll be kidnapped, an undercover woman will rescue you.
Did you hear that, Tracy?
But you can't do that.
Hi, everybody. What's up?
They want me to be kidnapped.
Why?
Because it's the important role. Tracy will have the audience's sympathy while she's bound, gagged, and stuffed into a soundproof rubber bag.
Ooh.
Doug can't talk John out of it, so it's Tracy's turn to storm off. I have a feeling Doug isn't going to be muffin much longer. Joyce is finally a little impressed.
Very sweet, John. And I'm sorry I called you slimy yesterday.
Joyce, actually, you called me a slimy little toad.
You're still a little toad, but not quite as slimy.
She's melting.
He's really going all in. He brings her favorite flowers. He's been coming over and hanging out every night this week. Joyce thinks maybe there's something in the air.
John, let me ask you, have all your attentions this past week, all your thoughtfulness, have you been, well, leading up to something?
How well you know me, Joyce.
Have you been trying to get me in a receptive mood so you could ask me something?
Try and fool you.
She says the time is right. Go ahead and ask.
Joyce,
Yes, John.
will you divorce me?
What?
It turns out our Mexican divorce is illegal, and on the advice of my attorney, I have to ask you for a brand new divorce.
John, you romantic old softy. There you go, bearing your soul again.
You've been softening me up all week for that?
Yes, how about it?
You've been loving and romantic. It led me to believe, to imagine. What a fool I've been.
This is one of the biggest problems with the show. Joyce simply cannot get the message that he's not husband material and likely never will be. She keeps hanging on to something that never really existed and putting John in these awkward positions because she does just what she said she imagines. But that's all it is, and she's not growing in her dealings with it at all. She keeps doing the same things and expecting different results. Not gonna happen, and if the show's writers had taken that and run with it, there might have been a chance for the show to survive. But the characters aren't going anywhere. They're static figures who always seem to do the predictable thing, which means they're not especially interesting. I'm not gonna lie, I admire Betty White beyond description, and it's hard to watch this being done to her.
Joyce, there's been some misunderstanding. I assure you that I had no
Well, let me
intention.
tell you something, you conniving little worm. I wouldn't divorce you now if you were the last man on earth.
We saw that this is a two-part story, and that's our cliffhanger, or as close as we're going to get to one. Really, the storyline about Mitzi trying to give 6 kittens away, Rasputin had another one while we were looking at something else, is more interesting than the divorce angle. We took the entire half hour for first John and then Joyce to learn that their divorce isn't legal. That shouldn't have taken more than about 5 minutes, and then we could fill the rest of the time with the Kittens and Tracy's script. Instead, we put those things on the back burner and dragged out the whole business of John telling Joyce, and predictably, he was kind of deceptive about it. Any one of us could have sat down and written this script and probably done a better job. Will it get any better in part 2? There's only one way to find out. You may be able to guess that, because the I can say IRS, even though I prefer not to. Because a few years later, it will be, slow down. Divorce isn't legal. Legal? A pair of orange kittens that we had to name Fred and George. We had a third one that we named Ginny. You are going to ruin this shot because I'm supposed to look at you at the end of it.